Hello all. In this video we are going to continue the JavaScript data types. So the first data type is number. So these values in JavaScript are considered as the number. For example, positive value, negative value, zeros, infinity, even not a number also considered as the number. And exponential figures, that is also considered as the number. And number with or without decimal points, those are also considered as the number. So these are the things you might get a little bit confused when you see the question in the exam, but there's no need to get confused. Okay, let's start with the example. Here we just inspect and then console. So there's some examples of numbers, I would say. As I said, this is a common example where a equals 9. This is numbers you already know. But the number can also be a negative number like this. Number can also be 0. Can also be -0. So the infinity. And then minus infinity. What else? Like some kind of decimal places. Likewise, minus decimal places. So it goes on. So these are some of the examples for the number data types in JavaScript. So this is straightforward one. And next one is Boolean. So in JavaScript, as you know, the Boolean has only two values. One is true and another one is false, right? So these are some of the example for the true scenario, and these are some of the example for the false scenario. I will explain why it is considered as a true and why this is considered as the false. Okay, because we cannot memorize everything that this belongs to true and this belongs to false, right? It's hard. So I will explain this. So the first one is Boolean of 10 greater than 7. 10 is greater than 7, literally, right? So that's why it is considered as the true. And next one is also same, but uh, the format is different, right? The format is different, but the meaning is same. So that's why it is considered as true. And third one is Boolean of name. First of all, if you're seeing this for the first time, you might think Boolean of some string. Why it is considered as the true? You might have that question. Why? Because Boolean of, if it has some value in it, then it is considered as the true. If it doesn't have any value, if it doesn't have any worth, then it is considered as the false. But here it has some string value, it has some value in it, right? Then it is true. And next one is Boolean of 10 plus 8. Again, it has some value, then it is true. So it has 1, it has some value, again it is true. It is false, but it is within the double quotes. So at the end of the day, it is considered as the string. It has some value, then it is true. Boolean of infinity. Infinity is also kind of value, then it is true. Okay. So this part might be tricky. I will explain practically how it is. Boolean of, if it is mentioned like this, Boolean of false. Sorry, it should be like small letter because JavaScript is case sensitive, right? So Boolean of false is false. This is false. Why? This is presented as the Boolean format. Previously, in my example in slide, it is mentioned as the string format. Now let's try this. This is true. Could you find the difference between the first one and second one? The first one is the exact Boolean value, true or false, and second one is string value. So if it has some value, then it is true. If it has some string value, so the second one has some string value, right? Then it is true. But here obviously the boolean false is false. Okay, and what else is tricky here? Nothing. Okay, so these are some of the examples for false. Boolean of not to number. Not to number. Can you get some value for this not to number? No, right? So it doesn't have any value, so it is false. Likewise, boolean of 0, it doesn't have any value. 0 is nothing, so it is false. Similarly, minus 0, it is also string, but it is empty. It doesn't have any value, right? This one. So that's why it is false. And var x boolean of x, so x doesn't have any values. It doesn't initialize with any values, that's why it is false. And boolean of null, null is nothing, so that's why it's false. Okay, so this is the best tip for the previous slide. You no need to memorize it, just apply the tips for each and every questions you are getting in your exam. Okay, so this is the tips. Everything with the value is true. So if you get the question like this, just uh, see whether this particular thing has some value or not. No, right? Then it is false. That's it. Our next data type is BigInt. So big integers. When JavaScript discovered this particular one, and why? Let's see. Why BigInt? We do have a number data type already to store the numbers, right? Then why BigInt? Let's see. I'm just copying these values and paste it here. First, let's check the output of the first one. It is correct, perfect. And then the output of the second one. This is wrong, right? So it has this much of nines, and but here it got converted into 1000. So this gives an inaccurate output, right? So that's why JavaScript found the separate data type to deal with this kind of big integers. For example, in our big data, like the calculations which incorporate some kind of a big numbers, kind of a world population and number of children in the world totally. So this those kind of larger calculations, the figures will be really large and it will be inaccurate to calculate, right? So that's why the JavaScript discovered this BigInt. So how to use this BigInt? So we got the idea why big integer instead of number. Now let's see how to use this BigInt and what are those examples. Okay, so there are two ways to write the BigInt. So the first one is you have to just append n, small n at the end of the number, whatever the number you want to convert or mention as a BigInt. The next one is you should just explicitly mention as BigInt of that particular number. Okay, so let's try this BigInt where um, y equals. So the first place is that you can have some number and type small n at the end. That's it. You created one big integer. See? The next one is you have to explicitly mention as BigInt of and then that particular number. Okay? Yeah. So this is how BigInt can be represented in JavaScript. Next one is undefined. So you might be come across this word undefined in your console while working out. So in JavaScript, this is also a data type. So what is the meaning? If any variable is without initialized some kind of value, if any variable doesn't have any value, then it is undefined. So let's see where car name, car name. So I just created one variable car name, but I didn't provide any value for that. I didn't initialize it. So now I'm just calling that car name here. So it is printed with the undefined. So undefined is also kind of a data type in the JavaScript if the variable doesn't have any value. So in coding, we will use like if the value not equal to undefined, something like that, right? So to check that, uh, check if any variable has any value or if it is undefined, so we can make use of those kind of conditional statement in our coding. So here comes the interesting part, quiz. So by using these questions, you can just understand by your own whether you really got each and every concept which I taught you today or not. So these are some of the model questions we come across in our exams, in our interviews, like that. So what is the data type of pi? So pi is nothing but 3.14, right? 3.14 in the mathematics. So what is the data type of 3.14? It is obviously number. But how to check it? We can check like type of h number. That's it. That's the answer. I hope many of them might already answer this by your own. If not, you can refer my explanation. Okay. So next one, what is the output? So here where a equals a, where b equals a console.log b. So here please kindly note down there's some kind of comment line, right? Then it is not applicable to a coding. So b is equal to a. This is commented. Now b doesn't have any value, right? So what is the output? Undefined, because b doesn't have any value. So in the beginning of uh, the previous slide we just saw, if any variable doesn't have any value, then it is called undefined. Here also it's the same. So what is the answer? Undefined. Okay, so these are the other questions I will just go through. So you can click pause while seeing this video and find the answer. These answers is in the previous slides. You have to just uh, watch the previous slides video and then answer it. What is missing here? What is missing here? And is this correct or wrong? This is match the following. So those are the 4 questions I just want you to answer by your own by referring the previous slides. Okay. And thank you so much for listening to my video. And next video is data type part 2, where we will discuss the important concept like objects, arrays, object properties, methods, and everything. Thank you so much. Bye.